Hello and welcome to Procrastination Station. Procrastination as in procrastinating and that other thing that we all do. If you can put it together, then you're my people, and if you can't, perhaps click that next button. No shade. I'm your host, Hannah, and I'm here to talk about self-sabotage in a way that invites all parts of us to come along for the journey. I'm here to lay out the setbacks and superpowers of self-sabotage in order to manage our limitations. Throughout the show, we'll discuss designing a life that works in your favor through sustainable creative practices. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you enjoyed today's topic. Hello and welcome to Procrastination Station. Today I want to talk about meditation for busy people. Meditation is an ancient practice with thousands of different methods. I'm serious, and a rich culture and history behind it. In addition to its rich history, meditation is also having a trendy moment right now. It's commonplace enough in Western society that you can see corporate retreats and masterclasses happening so that you can meditate with your colleagues. I'm sorry, but that's not for me. There are styles that integrate all of the senses, like movement, sound, stillness, aromatherapy, extended periods of silence, fasting, and microdoses of mini mindfulness meditations. Which is why when people claim that they've tried meditation and it doesn't work for them, I wonder if they've given it a fair shot to find how it works for them. After speaking with a few people who all had the same concerns, that meditation doesn't work for them because they're too busy, and when they try, their mind doesn't shut off, and that's frustrating, so they might as well never meditate again. I've put this topic together to discuss meditation for busy bodies, busy minds, and the neurospicy, because that's how my relationship with meditation was. It wasn't until I addressed my definition of meditation that I was able to lean into it more and actually see the benefits. This topic is broken down into the subtopics of defining meditation, how I meditate personally, micro-meditation, and busybody restful mind. I must say, I won't pretend to be an expert on all the nuances and history behind meditation, but I do know what works for me. There's also a great episode on the breakdown by Mayam Balik where she interviews an expert on meditation. If I can find it, I will link their episode in the description. Now to define meditation. Google defines meditation as a practice of mental and physical techniques to improve brain health and wellness. That's it. It could last for days if you want, or just a couple seconds. For the average person, it'll last anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes. I see meditation as a system of calm to build connection between a busy body and a busy mind. The structured and traditional way most people in Western society recommend you to meditate is to pick a time and a place to sit still, stick to a daily routine. That's step one. And then step two is to allow your thoughts to ebb and flow without judgment for a determined amount of time. The place people get tripped up with is step two. When given a time to allow your thoughts to say what they want, especially when you're starting out, you're going to have a lot of brain chatter to sort through. We are humans on Earth having a human experience. Some meditation and spirituality teachers preach about the ego, that this judgment is all ego. And realistically, the voice in your head that judges you for having judgmental thoughts is all ego. But there's no spiritual sense in removing the ego. Our egos tell us when we deserve better, when something doesn't work for us, when there's something that we want that we do not have. We cannot remove our ego. If you think back to English class, there's id, ego, and superego. That's a triad. We cannot separate the triad. The ego is villainized, but very important. Enough so that I might just make an episode on the ego in the future. It's important to understand the expectation of yourself when you meditate, especially when you're starting out. Another thing to consider if you're not finding clarity in your mind chatter, when this happens to me, sometimes it tells me that it's not time to meditate, and that's totally okay. Ideally, the point of meditation is to identify a place of feeling centered within your racing thoughts. I find that I have a hard time picking a particular time of day when I can consistently remain focused to do my meditation on a routine. So what do you do if you find it difficult to sit still with your racing thoughts without feeling overwhelmed? This boils down to your perspective. Create a space that's free from judgment. Allow your overwhelm to have a seat at the table without taking control of the whole operation. This means if you begin to meditate and you have some uncomfy feelings bubble up, allow yourself to observe the message they're trying to convey without feeling the need to take action towards the desire behind the feeling. Sometimes I'll decide to meditate, try for 5 minutes, and get frustrated with myself for my racing thoughts and not finding a center, and then I'll give up thinking it doesn't work. When you lean into your blocks, allow the thoughts to raise, and create space to practice, it becomes easier every time to pace your racing thoughts, decipher them, and meditation becomes a tool for clarity. Ultimately, the point of meditation is to understand your racing thoughts so that you can find your center rather than allowing your racing thoughts full control over your life. I believe my center lives in my heart. And my job with meditation is to sift through my thoughts to identify the voice that's coming from my heart. This practice hasn't made my thoughts stop racing, but it has helped me pace myself in my thoughts. It's given me space to process my emotions, and the voice that comes from my heart, that used to be a soft and steady whisper among the chatter, has evolved to have a full seat at the table. After this realization, my perspective on meditation changed. It transformed from thinking about it as a practice for people who have a lot of extra time to sit still and their way to happiness. You can, in fact, sit still and own your way to a sense of calm after enough time and discipline. However, what happens when you don't have the time to commit to a lengthy discipline? I say find spaces in your day that you already enter a meditative state. Find something that keeps your hands busy but doesn't require too much thinking. For me, this is things like driving somewhere that I'm comfortable with the route, dishes, cooking, painting, nature walks, petting dogs and other soft things, masturbating, anything that takes you out of your mind and into your body. This can help you identify a place in your body that feels centered. Pay attention to what your mind tells you during these tasks and allow yourself space to gently redirect yourself to your center. If you typically listen to heavy metal on your drive to work, perhaps try your hand at podcasts for a bit and see if it impacts your energy. If you find yourself unable to enjoy your me time, try romancing yourself more thoroughly to set the mood. If you feel calm after nature walks, but you only seem to take one once every time the season changes, do them more. Try finding ways to make the experience more exciting, like maybe creating a new playlist. Identifying your center and learning what following your heart feels like can help you bring more of your heart into the mix when you're meditating or in times of stress. Some more examples of activities that can help bring you back to your body would be things like tapping your face and collarbones, yoga and stretching, counting your fingers and toes, massaging your hands or feet, brushing your hair, applying lotion, playing with diaphragmatic and belly breath. Another magnificent place to meditate that brings you into your body is the shower. These are not necessarily traditional places or actions our biased minds may take us for methods of meditation, but they allow you space to access a meditative state in your mind. There are literally thousands of methods of meditation, and I encourage you to experiment and determine what works for you to maintain a level of calm in your life. I'd like to convince you with this topic that you already have a daily meditation practice, and if you're not seeing benefits, you can augment your approach to make your day more meditative without claiming any additional time from your day. So now that you already have a full-fledged practice, you can make it more meditative to serve your purposes. And this brings me to the topic, how I meditate. Sitting still to meditate is nice, but I find more benefit from my practice, which I believe falls more under the category of mindfulness. To me, it's all the same jam. I meditate mainly through visualizations in a few different ways. Sometimes it's a visual download. There are times when a picture comes into my mind. It could be something random and simple like a flame, or something more complex like a scene in a room, and I'll ponder the image to identify symbols and potential synchronicities within my life. It's almost like literal daydreaming, and I can use this as a tool to call in energy that I want. For example, if I'm feeling lethargic, I can call in an image that represents action. I'll meditate on the idea for a while, and eventually I'll get an image of rushing water in my mind. The pace of the waves can represent my pace, and the fluidity represents my ability to overcome obstacles and mold myself into the shape of the container I'm asked to fill. Sometimes it's retreating to my happy place. My happy place is a literal and fictional place in my mind. It's a cabin that backs onto the ocean in a secluded forest in Newfoundland. I'm there to live off the land, protect nature, and create. It's about 1 kilometer away from the nearest town, and people generally leave me alone except when they come to barter trade their farm goods in exchange for my tinctures and painted rocks. I go to this place in my mind when I'm in an uncomfy space that I can't escape from, like the doctor's office. This place started with a cabin, and from there I've been able to build more detail, like a babbling brook and a cute little teal kitchen and some furry companions. Sometimes it's a shower meditation. When I'm in the shower, I sit down. It's the same R&R essence of taking a bath, but not gross. I allow the water to hit my back, imagining it pure with no microplastics. Crystalline, light water, bringing in all of the positive things as it rushes over me. The soap lifts all the slime and grime and sticky stories that life tries to attach to me, and it runs down the drain to release anything that doesn't serve me. Sometimes it's a conversation with my guides. I have archetypes in my mind of spirit guides who help me throughout life. These are people who I've imagined in different forms who can help me throughout my journey. I talk to Archangel Michael a lot. He's my main guy. To me, he represents decisive action, clarity, and he helps me work through contradictory and confusing thoughts. I also talk with the birds. They're an extravaganza type. Think RuPaul's Drag Race winner type level queen who helps me feel my fierceness. Then there's my highest self. She's a version of me who's perfect and completely unattainable. She helps me learn about what's best for me and what fits into my future. And then there's my lovely dragons. They help me with intrusive thoughts and intrusive people. And these lovely dragons are protective. They're like the mama bear energy, and they protect me from intrusive thoughts and intrusive people. And when I'm dealing with any one of these things, I just close my eyes and ask myself, what would Archangel Michael tell me to do? What would a dragon do in this moment? How can I tap into my fierceness more in this moment? And these archetypes of different guides help me to organize what I need. It's taken a really long time in my life to be able to build these connections with my guides, but I'm so glad that I did. And sometimes my meditations happen in public. When I'm in an uncomfy moment in public, it can be difficult to step away and take space so that I can return to my body. If I can't get away or check out mentally, then I'll count my fingers, make fists with my toes, tap my clavicle, and I'll take deep breaths when I need a quick mindfulness moment before I respond. We'll be diving a little bit deeper into meditation on the go with our next topic, micro-meditation. If you're a busy person who feels they might benefit from meditation, but you struggle to find space in your day to tend to your mind, try these mini mindfulness techniques. Mini meditations are a way to augment your reactions by zooming in and out with your perspective. You can accomplish the zooming in and out by tensing and relaxing all of your senses, such as sight, hearing, touch, breath, and still effective but less readily altered would be taste and smell. You can alter your mood with comfort food. Hello nachos. Hello grilled cheese and tomato soup. Or carrying smelling salts to access your zen at work. But if you'd like to learn how to soothe your nervous system, even if you have zero access to zero external tools such as salts or snacks, you can focus on your breath, sight, hearing, and touch. Flexing your breath involves switching between diaphragmatic breathing, which are short, surface-level breaths that you take when you're not actively thinking about breathing, and a few big belly breaths can instantly help you reset your nervous system, and imagine if you did that all the time. I want to say this method of micromeditation is bar none the best way to reset your nervous system, but if you're in public or a conflict or with a very particular company, a big belly breath looks an awful lot like a sigh. If meditating with breath doesn't seem to make a difference for you, flexing your sight muscles can help you direct your focus. You might be thinking, if my eyes are open, I'm actively seeing, and therefore flexing my sight muscles. However, this type of zooming in and out looks like looking at a nearby object. Focus on its detail, hold your focus for a few seconds, and then soften your gaze to your periphery. Lose sight of the object in front of you, hold your gaze again for a few seconds, and return to focusing on the details of the object. So you're going between focus and periphery sight. If you're in an area with ambient noise, you can flex your hearing too. Listen to identify sounds that are nearby, like your breathing. Focus on what's around you, and then shift your attention to the sounds that are farther away, like maybe your grandmother is doing dishes or something. You can flex your touch muscles by massaging your skin. Feeling how your skin feels on your hand, and then feeling how your hand feels on your skin. You can play with fabrics and textures as well. If you have no cats or dogs near you to cuddle, you can invest in some Sherpa-lined sweaters. I sleep in pillows and blankets that feel like they are lined by clouds. They're so soft. And if you don't believe me, I want you to ask yourself one question. Have you ever seen someone wearing cashmere soft Sherpa fleece sweaters who are also angry? Because I haven't. If you're in a moment when you're feeling overwhelmed, any one of these options might make a difference for you in dealing with your current company. For example, let's say someone you love is telling you about their less than palatable opinion. You can make fists with your toes and release them. Bonus points if you're wearing shoes. Or you can put your hands in your pockets and count your fingers. I find these types of mindfulness meditations to be ideal for dealing with daily micro triggers that in a past life may have led me to a reactionary response. This is a method of releasing control over your current circumstance. This practice works with the understanding that the only thing we can control is our breath and the way that we respond to what we see, feel, and hear. And now to move on to busybody, restful mind. People are busy for two reasons. Either they're working towards an ultimate goal, such as creating a fulfilling career and or raising a happy, healthy family, or because they fill their schedule with so many activities that it's easier to check out of regular life in order to create a life that they'd prefer. Such as that colleague who actually habit stacked their side hustle into a booming business so that they quit their job and now spend 6 months out of the year in Costa Rica doing nothing. How can you bring more calm into your life without making a single external change? A busybody knows that life throws them curveballs. A restful mind can adjust to those curveballs with ease. A mentor of mine once said, "It's okay to be busy, 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 but never allow that busyness into your mind." At the time, I didn't fully know what she meant, but then I realized exactly what it looks like to have busyness in your mind. It makes me think about a time when I lived underneath a mom who might as well have been single, in way over her head with two kids under 7 and one angsty teenager, a dog, a cat. She had so much going on. She was capital S stressed. Probably the most chronically stressed person I have ever encountered in my life. It was her daily duty to recite her entire to-do list to me every single time she'd catch me outside. I knew she had little capacity to step outside of her role as family nurturer and into nurturing herself. I knew this because I felt her constant anxiety when she talked about being busy, and seriously, my heart constantly goes out for her. I have no idea where she is now, but I hope she feels more rooted in her circumstance as her family ages. It was this moment that I realized how important it is to take space to nurture the self. That if you're not nurturing yourself, you can find yourself in a situation where you have a whole family of children who are relying on you and you can't rely on yourself. For me, meditation is a practice to work through self-judgment. If your mind is rushing, you might be judgmental about your inability to quiet your thoughts. In my eyes, it's not about quieting thoughts at all, but rather slowing them down so that you can sort and listen. Meditation is a space to process the chatter, to get comfortable with the rushing thoughts so that you don't get overwhelmed when it matters. Sometimes when I'm in a hole mentally, I look at what I'm consuming when I'm in my safe spaces, like changing the music I listen to, or trying new podcasts, or painting more and limiting my access to certain people to focus my energy in different ways. Much of meditation for me involves scanning my life for symbols and synchronicities to indicate direction and pace, using my intuition to tell me if I'm going nowhere fast or to be patient while I painstakingly slowly get somewhere grand. This involves observing patterns by getting to know myself and how I interact with my environment. The more in tune with myself that I get, the more patterns I'm able to observe. And the less in tune with myself that I am, the less patterns I'm able to recognize. Something that helps me sort through my thoughts, feelings, and emotions would be scanning. If you're like me and you mostly live in your head, one day I decided that every single thing that my mind tells me is not true unless backed by evidence. When my thoughts come up, I scan them through my instincts, which live in my gut. Instincts are based on gut feelings backed by personal history, which can be reliable, but not always reliable. And then my center, which lives in the heart and carries nothing but light and love. If you live in your gut all the time, because also same, the way things have been is not necessarily the way they always will be. So then if you scan upwards, I feel this in my gut. Are there alarm bells for my goals and big picture within my heart? What does my mind say when I think about it? Give a time frame to think about it. If all parties are in agreement, you can trust that particular instinct. If there are contradictions, further evaluation is required. The same can work in reverse. If you have a mean, risky, impulsive, or confusing thought, you can scan it downwards. Does my heart sense something that I cannot see? Is my gut warning us that we've been here before and this is not a direction we'd like to go again? Your gut instinct is perfect to judge the correct course of action in an instant because life is rarely centered or zen. Your gut is very important, but it doesn't need to be in control. Your head is perfect to think of problems and also how to solve them. Your head is very important, but it doesn't need to be in control. I think of my center as me being in the center of life's chaos. I'm like a swinging pendulum. I'm still in my head all the time, but I also need to oscillate between thought, emotion, and feeling with ease, which comes from practicing the difference rather than to actually sit still and meditate and try to force myself to be constantly centered for 15 minutes. For me, meditation is not necessarily about being constantly centered, but more about finding the pathway to get there. If you're a busy person who would benefit from a mindfulness practice, I leave you with these 2 key takeaways from today's episode. Find spaces in your day that are already meditative and ask yourself how you can make them more meditative. And use micro mindfulness meditations when your attention is required, but you want to run away. Life gives us containers to fill. And like a hermit crab, we make a home out of whatever container fits our size and is available to us. As we evolve and grow as people, the shell might become too snug, and the growing pains can be unbearable. And as we continue the hunt for containers that hold us as we are now, we meet other human hermit crabs who could benefit from the lessons we've learned in our current shell. Eventually, you find a shell that fits you exactly as you are now, and the process of filling the space and then outgrowing the space begins again. This is a hermit crab metaphor for those times when you don't feel you are where you want to be. And you might even feel it's necessary to be chronically busy in order to punish yourself and distract yourself from being in the wrong container. Sometimes it's not about trying to get your mind to shut up because your mind is trying to tell you you're in the wrong container. You deserve different. So that being said, if you're working on a meditation practice, if you're also a busy person, a neurospicy person, a busy mind, whatever, be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace. And continue to carve out spaces in your day that are exactly for you. And it doesn't matter how you show up in those spaces, just be you. Thank you so much for being here with me. I super duper appreciate it. I hope you learned something maybe you didn't know from this episode. I hope you give any of these techniques that I've shared with you a try. If you did, please let me know. I would love to hear them. And if you disagreed with anything that I said, again, please let me know. I would love to hear it. I really appreciate your feedback. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, and cheers for now. Thank you so much for being here with me, and if you enjoyed today's topic, now is a great moment to subscribe. If you have any feedback about today's topic, please reach out to my social channels. I help creative entrepreneurs market their creations in a way that feels authentic. I have a self-study marketing program that covers basic and advanced marketing concepts with 9 modules and activity sheets. I also sell content creation templates to help you manage your social media with unlimited content creation ideas. And I also offer one-on-one marketing consulting services. Check out my socials and my website to learn more. If you're interested in working with me, please reach out via email. So that's social media if you're reaching out for my podcast, and email if you're reaching out for business. All relevant contact links are in the description, and thanks again for listening. Cheers for now. That was pretty good.